Hi, everyone. I'm
Hi,
Kelly.
everyone.
I am the AMA board president, and I am very excited to be chatting with you today about the universal bid form, along with one of our AMA partners and one of my favorite people in the world, Lou Lesko from BlinkBid.
Hi, I'm Lou, and this is my friend Kelly, and we are going to share with you the universal bid form because it's important.
It is important. Shall I move to the next slide, Lou?
Yeah, let's just sort of talk for a second about what universal bid form is. The universal bid form is a way to create better communication with brands and agencies that establishes sort of a foundational standardization of line items while still offering the freedom to be creative as a producer to put in your own thing. So let's go to the next slide. So the universal bid form was a collaboration between the AMA, Sims, our friends in London, and us at BlinkBid. And we put a lot of work into this to really address everybody's needs. We sent it out several times, had lots of discussions about what would work and what wouldn't work. And it's the idea behind it is that just to create sort of a common language, and then going forward, we have some pretty adventuresome ideas for it. And we'll talk about that towards the end. So in the last, Kelly, would you say it's like 10 years that we've seen a lot of changes in the industry? On the brand and agency side, there's been more scrutiny of budgets, and there's been a need to sort of create a way of transparency so that the agencies can award jobs more quickly, or the brands can award jobs more quickly. The pandemic sort of accelerated this because scrutiny increased as economic dynamics changed and budgets became tighter. And what we saw here at BlinkBid, along with AMA and Sims, we were all sort of roundtabling this, that this is an opportunity to sort of help the industry and help people get paid more quickly. So we came up with this idea of the universal bid form, which is based on a concept that was developed by the Association of Independent Commercial Producers. And they've had a bid form for TV commercials for just over 40 years or something like that. And the AICP form is so universally known that actually people refer to different sections of it by line number when they're having discussions. So can we move to the next slide?
Sure. I also want to throw in there, that during this time we saw so many producers from the live action world become integrated with stills, and that really, I know, picked up a conversation between Lou and I of how do we start to compete in that realm when they are so used to seeing the AICP bid form that Lou just mentioned.
Yeah. So I'm just going to answer a few quick questions here that we came up with ourselves. So it's self-referential. We need universal bid form so that we can get our budgets through the system more quickly. There's no other way to put it, really. It's if it was bureaucratic before, it's even more so now. And a way to do that is to have less sort of judgment around what we're delivering to the client so that they can sort of get a clean, clear idea of what they're getting into so they can award jobs more quickly. I think I just mentioned, but the universal bid form came from, was inspired by the AICP form. And then we took this sort of new era of motion and still and put it all together. And then we sent it out to producers and agents, and then took all their implementation or their suggestions and implemented them, and then sent it back out, sent it back out, sent it back out. I mean, it was really a process of refinement. It's the only way to talk about it. But the most important thing for me in talking to producers, and Kelly and I really, really talked way too much about this, was how do we keep the ability for producers to be creative? Because producing is in fact a creative art unto itself. And so we talked about this idea of 88% and 12%. 88% of the line items that are in the universal bid form are things you're going to find on every single shoot. I mean, you need to have food, you need to have honey wagons, you need to have all these things that are sort of like just basic foundational things for every shoot that you're going to have. And so that's what the universal bid form incorporates. But we made the universal bid form in a way that you can come up with stuff on the fly. Suddenly you need, I was talking to a producer in Los Angeles who suddenly needed a dolphin trainer. And in the 40 years of producing, she had never seen a need for a dolphin trainer before. So she had to throw a line item in for that. And the universal bid form allows for that. The other side of the equation, which is the advertising agency side, where we're talking about this increased scrutiny, what I heard from there is if there's a way to have an expectation of what this 88% of these line items are, that way the people who are making the decisions to award jobs are only looking at 12% of the line items to sort of make sure that they fit into the budget constraints that they have and the discussions that were had creatively with the photographer director. So we designed the universal bid form to accommodate the best of both worlds by identifying this sort of split of the 88-12, which has worked out really well. And the way the universal bid form came about is we have it integrated in our software at BlinkBid. Sims is also integrated into their software, but we also have it available as a Excel spreadsheet that Kelly's going to show us.
Yeah, I'm going to reshare because I'm realizing I wasn't letting you guys see my whole desktop. So for those of you, actually, you don't have to be a member of the AMA to take advantage of the universal bid form. We really wanted this to be a resource for our entire industry to build off of. Producers, up and coming photographers, established photographers, art buyers, reps, so that they could have access to the universal bid form. I remember when I first became an agent 20 years ago, I was introduced by someone to BlinkBid, and it was huge for me. I had never worked at another company besides Apostrophe. I've never seen anybody else's bid form. And it opened my eyes to so many different categories that I should have been charging for. I have to imagine others out there earlier on in their careers have thought to themselves at times like, gosh, this is taking up a lot of my time. I should be able to bill back for this. And when I was introduced to BlinkBid, it really opened my eyes for the language for me to use on those categories and made my bids so much more impactful. And that's really what the AMA wants for everyone, to give people the language as well as to be able to see the categories that they may or may not be able to charge for. Now, whether you charge for something at all or what price you charge for it is up to you. You may or may not decide to include markup on your bid, but there is a section for it, at least within the AMA bid letter, which helps to make it become standard. So if you were on our website, you can go to resources, and then you go to bidding resources, which is really a wonderful category to explore either way. And here you'll see universal bid form and cover page. This gives you a little bit of background. The most important background is that you need to enable macros for the Excel spreadsheet to work. And then, Luke, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So this is the cover page. This is what it will look like when you open up the Excel file. Now, it is password protected, but if you see down here in the red type, you can unlock the spreadsheet should you be a macro and Excel wizard and want to customize this yourself with your own logos or however you like. Just know that at that point, you've unlocked the spreadsheet, so that becomes your spreadsheet as opposed to the AMA bid form, and you'll be responsible for any calculation changes that you may have made. But here's the cover sheet, and as you can see, I know it's very small here, but I'm just trying to give everyone a snapshot. It has your company information, it has your artists, all of the different contact information that you might need, as well as notes to build a really beautiful job description. And then the important thing here is these other 3 buttons. Oops, sorry about that. I'm already messing up my demo. Let me go back here to the beginning. But the 3 buttons that are in the upper right hand corner are what you're going to use to print this. So you can print the cover to a PDF, print the budget to a PDF, and then also print your terms and conditions to a PDF. You can, down here along the bottom where my mouse is scrolling, is all of the various categories that you can choose from in order to fill things in. So any line item where you add a value within the rate is what is going to show up when you go to print your budget. So you'll see in the rentals, let me see if I can actually, because I know this is very small. Can't figure out how to make my screen bigger. Sorry about that, friends. But you'll see in the rentals, I've put in camera rental for $500. I'll put a computer laptop rental in for $500. And then when I go back here to my cover and I print my budget to a PDF, I click OK when I see this here. And then you'll see here the only line items that end up showing up in equipment rental are camera and laptop, as I had filled out, not this entire exhaustive list. And that's why it's very important to use that print to PDF budget for your cover, for your budget, and for your TNCs, as it will collapse things down just to the most important categories where you actually have costs filled in. And so I understand that when you first look at it, it can seem really overwhelming and intimidating, but once you play around with it, the spreadsheet is actually very intuitive. It's also a great place to use just as a reference for as you're building your own bid form as well, for any categories that you think that you may want to include when you're estimating for a project. So that is the AMA form, but there's also our wonderful partners, both Sims and BlinkBid, that have it incorporated into their software. You want to chat a little bit about that now, Lou?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. You bring up a good point about collapsing the line items. When we looked at the AICP form, it in fact prints out the entire bid form, whether there are values in the line items or not, which some people find a little daunting because it's a lot of pages of a lot of blank stuff. And one of the things that we've always done at BlinkBid is to only show what you're using. And our friends at Sims, who took what we did in the beginning with the Excel spreadsheet, are the ones that built the macros. They were awesome. Kofi's incredible. And I think the most important thing moving forward is to really only show the client what's going to be used on the shoot, because I think that it will lead to just a clear communication, which is exactly what we're trying to do with this universal bid form, is create sort of a lingua franca for everybody to communicate with. Our cover sheet, as you can see here, is similar to what they've done at the AMA, except it's database driven as opposed to spreadsheet driven. So we have a little bit more latitude with how it gets laid out. And we are calling ours the BlinkBid standard cover sheet. It's a little bit different than the AMA's in terms of some of the information it includes, but or the AMA Excel sheet in terms of some of the information it includes, but it's highly effective. And again, vetted by many, many, many producers. So you just choose it. It's available now in the software if you're a BlinkBid user. And we are really encouraging people to take a look at it. And if they like it, they can use it to try it again, to create this sort of familiarity with brands and agencies and clients, so they can start getting used to something that we can all get behind. Next slide, I guess. Again, to reiterate, we're only including the line items that you need in our software. I believe Sims has done this exact same thing, and the spreadsheet that you can get for free from the AMA does only shows the line items that are going to be used on the job that you're using. Again, just to have a very abbreviated version and keep people focused on the actual shoot versus reams of information that is superfluous because there are no values in terms of their use. And this is what a printout in BlinkBid currently looks like. We have the cover sheet and it spits out a page break, and then you have the itemized version of all the different line items in the job. In the new BlinkBid standard cover sheet, you can put in as many clients or contacts as you want. So it's all kinds of information for all the people involved in the job. The job description is abbreviated on the cover sheet, and then if you go to the second page, you can print it as long as you want. You can put in, a short novella if you would like. And again, the standard BlinkBid estimating terms and usage licenses and all the things that you need. Again, we're trying to create a standard that people can look at, have it be recognizable. So if there is a triple bid situation and everybody's sort of got the same looking bid, it becomes about the numbers, and that's where the creativity is in producing. We are excited. I know Kelly's excited. I think the AMA has done something wonderful by leading the charge for this universal bid form. And I think most of what we can deal with now is sort of the questions that I know is going to be dozens of questions. So I guess we'll just answer questions now. Does that sound good?
It does sound good. I'm looking in the chat and I know that someone is asking for a link to the bidding resources. So I am sending that out now. And there's an excellent question of, will a line item still show up on the PDF if there are no values added in? For instance, if you ended up to write notes that line item, that a client will be, that it's provided by a client, will that be added in? So that is an excellent point. That is currently not included in the AMA Excel spreadsheet. What we recommend is to list that within your job description. I know I've been bidding a lot for photographers to shoot alongside broadcast, and I have to make it very clear what's not included in my bid, and that's going to be on the live action company. And that's where I list all of those things out very detailed within my job description instead of within the line items when using the AMA bid form. But it is something I really like about my BlinkBid catalog because Lou, I know that we can do that there.
Yeah, exactly. So you can put in a zero value and it's included in, it becomes a talking point versus an actual number. So there's another question here that says, can you explain the need for job description being on the BlinkBid form twice? It's a good question. On the cover sheet, we have an abbreviated form, the job description, especially if you've got a multi-page job description. And the reason it's on the front cover sheet, so if that cover sheet is lying around in a printed form at the client, they can glance at it and see, oh yeah, that's that job that we're doing here or there or whatever. And then if there's more detail that they need to reference, they just flip the sheet over and there's the full description of what's going on. And that was from Justin. Thanks, Justin.
And I'm going to go back really quickly and reshare my screen. At the AMA, you'll see we also have a job description checklist. And this is where we have just thought through everything that you would want to consider having on your job cover page. And I know that this seems so incredibly exhaustive, but this also matches up to the AMA terms and conditions template that we have available as well, defining who the different parties are. I mean, I can remember way back in the day, it would be a single bid and I wouldn't even bother with a job description, but our industry has changed so much and we want everyone out there to be as protected as possible and have the most sound bids possible. Hence why we came up with this exhaustive list for you to take a look at. I know that when Lou and I were collaborating on it, we went back and forth of like, wow, this is really long.
Yeah.
But we also knew, whether or not you include all of these things, that is up to you. But we wanted to make sure that your estimate would be very clear and have everything that needed to be included in it that would protect you in the bidding process. Hence why there is the 2 different job descriptions that Lou has, also just to make sure that, it attaches those different pages together.
And I think to that point is part of this process was to try to reduce the back and forth that happens when you're bidding a job. So if there's less back and forth, the hope and theory is that there'll be a quicker path to an award. So that's another reason. So if there's less questions to go back and forth about, fewer of those questions get lost in the email threads. And so this is a step forward to try to get away from that. There's another question here about some clients require AICP format in their bids. Is universal bid form AICP approved? They have actually been involved in this process. They were very kind and joined us in many of our meetings, and we all talked about it. And we are working with the AICP to make BlinkBid go through one of their portals that they use to communicate with their clients. So I don't know if that's official approval or not, but they definitely know about us and we're all very cozy and friendly.
Yeah, we took cues from the AICP's universal bid form when creating this. The stills world is different and it needed its own customization, but we did do our best to try and create as many parallel paths as we could so that it would start to look very familiar to the accounting systems at agencies. Again, our live action counterparts enjoy firm bids and standard payment terms. And we're hoping that through aligning on our universal bid form, we can start to enjoy some of those same, especially payment terms, by helping to streamline the accounting processes with the universal bid form. Yeah, and I see the clients have, okay, yes, we already answered that, great.
Somebody asked a question if great question actually, if the line numbers are going to show up on the bid form. In BlinkBid, we are not showing the line numbers currently. They're a little bit longer to sort of like glance into the future. We are hoping that those line numbers become offer an ability to bridge the gap between the production world and the accounting world on the brand side. And so we are not really seeing a need for those line numbers to show up. If we do start seeing a need for that, we will include them. But for right now, line numbers aren't printing. Kelly, are you guys printing on the Excel?
I don't believe that we are.
Yeah, I don't think there was a real need for it at the moment. We asked, that was a big question. I remember we went back and forth a lot.
Yeah. I have to check. I haven't had anyone call that out to me when
Right.
using the bid form. I did want to, I know there was a question about how payroll taxes are calculated, so I'll reshare the universal bid form really quickly. You'll see here right within here, there is, up at the top, you could put markup over the entire category. here, so let's just say you charge 10%, it will automatically calculate out markup if you decide to do an assistant or a creative director. All of those things will get that markup automatically line itemed out. If your crew member qualifies for pension and welfare, you'll see here in section O, that is where you would then put in whatever your payroll amount is, 25, 28, 30%. I know payroll companies charge everyone differently. And then you'll see that that gets carried over into the line item estimate total there. And then that will get printed out when you go to print out that budget. So that's how that works within the AMA universal bid form. Lou, do you want to talk?
Yeah, so in BlinkBid, we do the same thing per line item. You can put a percentage in, or you just actually, I'm sorry, you just mark it to be, if it's going to be P&W, then you have an overall for P&W within BlinkBid, and then job markup, like the AMA form, you can do that per category. You can choose which categories get the markup. So we're finding a lot of people that part of the negotiation. Another question here is, do we get any feedback from agency consultants? Yes, we did. We talked to some production consultants on the agency side and got their input for sure as we were putting this together, because that's actually our main people we're communicating with.
And then someone else is asking the difference between the Excel spreadsheet and the BlinkBid catalog. There is no difference, actually. I think it just depends on which system you prefer to work within. I have access to both. I personally really like BlinkBid because it allows me to share with my other reps at Apostrophe, as well as to collaborate with outside producers that we may use, because it allows you to share your bid. But the line items, the categories and the line items within them, within the AMA Excel spreadsheet and within the BlinkBid AMA catalog, are the exact same, as well as with Sims. If anyone is using Sims, they are also matching the categories as well as the line item in the categories to both the AMA and BlinkBid.
Yeah, sort of a BlinkBid specific question. Somebody asked, if we change our catalog to universal bid form, does it affect past estimates? It does not affect past estimates. The warning that you're seeing means that whatever catalog that you currently have for that personality is going to get wiped out if you have any stuff stored there. It's just the way our system works. So if you change to that, if you want to try it out before making that commitment, you can create a separate personality and use the universal bid form for that. Play around with it without any losing anything on the original personality. So that might be a good way to manage that.
Yes, in fact, in some ways I wish it did convert, because I know that for so many of us, we duplicate estimates that are similar in order to build off them. So, I just want to recognize some of that challenge to making that change. I know I'm experiencing it not only within my own organization, but for myself, because I've been a BlinkBid user for so long, and I just love that duplicate button. But once you do it a few times, it's actually really nice to be able to go through the catalog and go, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense for that to live there. Or I've been wondering about that. Like, it's nice to show this charge and separate it out in this way, or whatever it might be. So I encourage everyone to bite the bullet and try building out some new estimates.
Yeah, there's one person I was trying to answer by typing, and I just deleted their thing. So if you're asking a question about some of the new features in BlinkBid about the credit card stuff, can you just reach out to us directly and we'll get you? Yes, the answer is yes, but we'll get there. But I want to keep it focused in more of a general space here. So somebody asked if this is US centric or will this apply everywhere? This is starting to roll out everywhere. We have people in London already using this. Sims is a London-based company. So we're trying to get this sort of to spread out as far as wide as possible. The idea with some of those line numbers that you're seeing that are not printing is that that is a codification of those line items. And the idea is that we're going to create, like, whereas we may have a water truck in the States, they may have a water lorry in England or the UK, and we're trying to create a way that translation can occur. In my software, you can already switch currencies really easily. So you can bid in US dollars and then convert it to EU or Great British pounds. And then we're trying to bring that same functionality from a language perspective. So if you're working with a foreign country that has a different language, that we will be able to translate that right on over. So that, again, is that 12% or 88% versus 12%. We understand there's always going to be that creative aspect. We haven't quite solved all those problems yet, but for the majority of things that people would look at and sort of glance over to get you going to your job, we are going to create that translation layer.
And unfortunately, we don't have that capability quite yet with the AMA spreadsheet. We don't have the same sophisticated designers that BlinkBid and Sims does, although they have loaned us several of theirs in the course of trying to create the spreadsheet. But I know that Sims also does have a currency converter as well. So that will be for the AMA, that will be something that we'll grow to in the next few months. But we wanted to get this catalog out and have everyone using it as soon as they possibly could. I see there's another question here about whether or not we've gone to cost consultants. That is a great point. And as Lou said, we did speak to some people in the agency side. This is really the education phase that we're moving into. And one of the best ways that we can help to educate our industry is to all use the same template for bidding. The more that agencies and brands start to see independent photographers, photo agents, production companies bidding with the same line items, bidding with the same language, that creates the standard. Again, what you charge, and if you charge for a line item, is your competitive advantage. But through using the same language, it will create a platform for which we will all build upon.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody wanted me to clarify about the old price list getting deleted. So if you're in BlinkBid and you're in an item catalog and you switch to the universal bid form, if you have pricing and things and quantities saved with the current item catalog that you're on and you switch to universal bid form, that item catalog will get wiped out. It does not affect the existing bids whatsoever. So it's just the item catalog that gets deleted in favor of the universal bid form or the new catalog that you put in. But all the estimates that exist in that personality will not be touched. They will all maintain their old categories and line items just as they were done when you first created it. They're two very separate things. I hope that answers your question there.
Someone else is asking if one user is using the universal bid form and shares it with another Excel user who is not using the universal bid form, is the sharing functionality still usable? With the AMA form, if you save your Excel spreadsheet and you send it to another person who is using a comparable version of Excel, they would just need to enable macros. It's not like a hot budget where on the AICP side where you have to have a subscription to hot budget in order to be able to open their Excel and enable their macros. With the universal bid form, as long as they're running a comparable version of Excel, then and they enable macros, they should be able to see everything that you inputted into that bid form and double check it, add for you. You just may want to be saving versions between one another so that nothing gets lost in that transfer.
Great. Are there any other questions? I'm just typing out a quick answer to somebody. It's a little bit too specific for the show.
Sims, what is Sims? CIMS. And I'm not entirely sure what CIMS stands for, but they are another production software company that's out of the UK that is an AMA partner like BlinkBid is. And they helped us with the coding of the Excel spreadsheet. As well. So we just want to, give everyone the options that are out there in terms of bidding software companies. If you have another bidding software that you use that does not have the AMA catalog incorporated, we would encourage you to reach out to us, let us know, so that we can provide them with the catalog and we can build a relationship with them to have the catalog integrated into their software as well.
Yeah, that looks like pretty much most of the questions. If you have specific questions, especially for BlinkBid, support at blinkbid.com. What can I say? Agents are standing by to answer questions tomorrow morning. So yeah, come with us. We know that there's going to be a lot of questions about this universal bid form moving forward. As questions come in, we may even do another webinar to sort of answer those as things evolve. But I feel very strongly this is an incredibly good first leap forward from where we were, which will just, I think, tighten up those bridges with the clients and the people that pay us.
Yes, and very quickly, there's a couple more that came in just right as you were closing that out, Lou, that I wanted to address. One person says, have you set markup and insurance percentages, 10 or 20% markup, 2 to 3% insurance, for example? The AICP was successful in establishing a 20 to 25% as standard for markup and 3% insurance. And I think those percentages are automatically set in their form versus the production companies putting those percentages in. That is a wonderful question. And one of the first things I asked when we started the AMA, and we cannot set percentages. The AICP actually hasn't set percentages anywhere as well. I know that as they talked about over the course of these last however many decades that they've been around, there have been suggested percentages of 20 to 25%. And I know in our stills world, there's suggested percentages of, an average of 10%. Some people charge between 5 and 15%. But whether or not you charge that 10% production fee or whatever that production fee may be that you are setting, that is your competitive advantage. So we cannot dictate to you or suggest to you that you include, like, let's say a 10% production fee or a 3% insurance fee. I know my production insurance provider has suggested me that 2 to 3% of insurance charge would cover the cost of my insurance. But how you play around with those amounts when you're bidding in order to make your bid competitive, should you decide I want to waive this in order to show a deeper discount to the client, that is, of course, your competitive advantage as well. And then creating the universal bid form version in BlinkBid. Luke, they find that within the settings, correct?
In settings, you just choose the universal bid form item catalog to do that. And then when you print, there is the BlinkBid standard, which is the cover sheet that we're doing, which then is followed by the itemized. And again, it is a little bit different from what the AMA is doing in their spreadsheet, but very, very similar. Just a few bits of input that we got from producers that we wanted to incorporate in what we're doing versus what the AMA did.
Yeah. Stephanie, thank you so much for your question about actualization. That is something that the AMA is working on with its next round of the spreadsheet. We do not have PO logs, but Lou, you do have a production tab that allows you to actualize
we have a production tab that it's called the production module, and we can actualize within there. And that is, as I write or as I say these words now, getting some very serious love from our developers to make that actualization even better. So it started out as a neat idea, and then it got refined a little bit more, and now we're looking forward to that next big step forward. Again, based on producer input and agency side input. So.
And then someone else asked that in the past, when they looked at BlinkBid, it used pop-up windows and drop-down menus for entering information. Is this still the case?
Mm.
I haven't experienced pop-up windows
I think you're
before.
harkening back to the old days of the desktop version.
Yeah. Oh boy, that was a long
I my hair wasn't silver back then when that was happening.
time. So no more pop-up windows on the BlinkBid version.
Yeah.
And I think that we got everything.
Oh, actually, there's a question here. I think that might be for you, Kelly. So, do you recommend we keep the line items as they are for consistency? I often change things like costume designer to wardrobe stylist, etc. Or first assistant. I don't know, my sort of quick take on that before I hand it over to you is take a look at what we've got in there. We've got pretty much everything covered. Kelly, do you have any input on that?
Absolutely. I mean, you'll notice that we left roughly 20 additional line items for you to customize within each section. Should you feel that you need right now under wardrobe, we just have, it says specifically wardrobe or special makeup. So if you feel as though you need to add a particular line item, then you can do that. If you feel as though you are missing anything that you really feel should be a part of the universal bid form, we are completely open to feedback. East & Co was so wonderful about sending us so many suggestions, as was Versatile Studios. I want to publicly thank them for all of the work that they did just in terms of going through each category and giving us feedback. And that's really what's going to make this better. This is a living document, and with your feedback, as with anything with the AMA, your feedback can only help to make it better. So, this is the current version, and we will continue to update it, including PO logs and all of those other wonderful things as it grows and evolves. So please feel free to not be shy and let us know what we may have forgotten. But in the meantime, it is very easy for you to go into one of those blank cells. It will total all the way across so that you can customize any line item you feel you might need.
Yeah. And I think this is a good time to sort of call out Kofi over at Sims, who did a little macro coding for us, and Chantel here at BlinkBid, who did the actual spreadsheet and initial calculations. Those are the people that make Kelly and I look good. So
yes. And then someone is saying that in the settings, for BlinkBid in the settings, I'm gonna see if I can pull up and share my screen with all of you without breaking any NDAs to show where it might be. Okay, I think I can do it from here. So I went into settings here, and you'll see item catalog up here, financials, terms, document appearance. You go here to this button that says change catalog, and that's where you find the universal bid form, and you click to that, and it gives you this scary message that changing catalogs will overwrite your current catalog. And then you hit submit, ask you one more time, and then you just say okay, and then it will change it to the universal bid form catalog there.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I like being your Vanna White.
So I think
Thank you so
yeah.
much. I am so excited to see how many people came to this webinar and expressed interest. And I just want to say again, please give us your feedback. You know, that's only how we can make it better. Please explore the AMA website if you're not a member or you're not a partner, but you want to be. By all means, please reach out. We're stronger as our community comes together. So thank you everybody for coming today. And to Lou, when I called you and told you we were forming the AMA, the first words out of your mouth were, how can I help you? And it's meant so much to myself and to the fellow board members and everything you've done for this industry. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Kelly. Always lovely to see you.